Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to my living room and to another edition of a great event for NAVALX Midwest Tech Bridge. I'm Julie Griffith. I'm with the Indiana Innovation Institute. We are the partner intermediary for NAVALX Midwest Tech Bridge. We're delighted you could be with us this afternoon, particularly on a Monday when I know every day is busy, but Mondays in particular. So we got a great couple of hours planned.
He is now joining.
Very informative with great speakers. But at the end of the day, this is about you and about connecting you to opportunity. So before we get started, just a couple of little housekeeping things. Please mute your computers and your phones. We've had a couple of interesting and fun interruptions. I'm trying to protect the innocent here. And then we do have a chat feature at the bottom that you'll see on that bar, a place for you to ask some questions. We want to get to all of them. So I can commit to you that we'll get all your questions answered either during the presentations if we have time, but certainly at the end. So without further ado, and to get you on your way to some good information, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Ann Field. She's the Regional Director of NAVALX Midwest Tech Bridge, and Ann started her job after being at Crane for a few years. Started this job and this journey in late February, and it's just been amazing what she's been able to achieve in such a few short months. So Ann, without further ado, let me turn it over to you so you can fill people in on exactly what NAVALX Midwest Tech Bridge is all about. So please, you have the floor.
Awesome. Thank you, Julie. You are always way too kind. I think our team is phenomenal, so just appreciate you guys very much. As Julie mentioned, IN3 is our partnership intermediary, so they're really the ones helping us do the heavy lifting to get us from A to B with the Tech Bridge effort. So if you guys have been a part of these conversations before, these presentations before, you guys may have seen some of this stuff before, but you know that IN3 is hugely involved in what we do. So thank you, Derek. So as Julie mentioned, my name is Ann Fields. This slide has been updated a little bit. We do have a new acting technical director, which is Kyle Warner, which is awesome because he is our director of engagement as well. And so he's really very like-minded when it comes to building up our innovation ecosystem. So really excited to have him as our acting technical director. We also have a new commanding officer, I think, since the last time we did a presentation, and that is Captain Duncan McKay. So I'm excited to have both of those gentlemen leading us right now, and that will change here going forward with a new acting TD before the final TD is identified here in the coming weeks. Next slide, please. So I don't want to be too redundant for folks who have already seen this presentation, but for folks that haven't, excuse me. So folks who haven't seen this presentation before, I want to talk through a little bit about what NAVALX is. So NAVALX was an initiative that started in February of 2019, and the goal was to really make the Department of the Navy workforce more agile, more connected, and communicate better between each other with an end goal of getting technology to the warfighter faster. So at the bottom of this slide here, you can see there's different types, kind of different facets or different organizations within NAVALX. But NAVALX is actually staffed by a rotational cohort, and they sit in Alexandria, Virginia. So we have an individual from Crane for the first time there. She's their human factors design lead. So really excited to see what she comes back with from her rotation. So just to highlight a couple of these launch platforms, if you guys have seen Seaside Chats or the Center for Adaptive Warfighting, the launch platform team is really involved with training and educating the workforce and the warfighter. Awards and stories, if you guys have been engaged with Mohawk, Matt, or anyone at NAVALX who does, the DoD communication a little bit differently than folks have done it historically, it's really interesting to be a part of and really great to see how that is growing. So the awards and stories, of course, are identifying people who have done a good job, but then also communicating to the workforce and to the ecosystem in ways that haven't been done before. Playbooks are really a way to capture what's being done effectively and communicating it back to other organizations so we don't have to recreate the wheel time after time after time. And that gets us to the tech bridges, which is kind of why we're here today. The tech bridges was something that came of this NavalX construct that put kind of centers of engagement, kind of those super connectors in areas where the warfare centers are. So if you look at the map on the next slide, please, Derek, you'll see that there are tech bridges really all over. There were initially 6 to start. Now there's 12. And what's really interesting, and it's funny, from time to time when I do this presentation, you really see this ecosystem growing. So we have tech bridge calls 2 or 3 times a week, and it is, I actually just got off one, and it's really awesome to see how we grow and leverage each other's ideas. So as I get a little further into the presentation about our calendar of events, see for too long, some of these tech bridges is partnering together. So we actually had a conversation last week with the Rhode Island Tech Bridge about potentially partnering with some of our future technology demonstrations. And the idea there is to share problems that are happening at Newport and problems that are happening at Crane, and seeing if between our 2 networks we can help find solutions and, you know, vector solution providers to one another. So perhaps you know, solution providers that are here
is now joining.
Solution providers that are here in the Midwest may be able to solve some problems for the 401 Tech Bridge as well. So I'm really interested and excited to see how this grows and develops for us going forward. Next slide, please, Derek. So these focus areas are the 10 that the Midwest Tech Bridge is focused on. So you guys know that there are 3 departments within Crane. These tech bridge focus areas are really technologies that help our line departments really solve their problems. And so that doesn't mean that we're not interested in information and organizations that provide capability outside of these focus areas, but these are the These are the ones that that we're really focused on. For anyone who's called in, I'm just going to ramble them off real quick. Power and energy, battery solutions, modeling and sim, 5G and communications, artificial intelligence, data analytics, microelectronics, hypersonics, command and control, cybersecurity, and unmanned aerial systems. Next slide, please. So we have really 4 success factors with the Midwest Tech Bridge, and I do believe that these will grow and expand as we move forward. But expand and engage the internal and external network is really why we're here. Our goal is to be a super connector for the ecosystem. The external network is our innovation ecosystem, so the folks in and around the Midwest, really, as you saw on that map, we have pretty much from coast to coast everything in the middle there, which is awesome. You know, such an opportunity for us. Really, government, academia, and industry, those individuals or those organizations are the folks that we see as our external network. The internal network is really the Crane POCs. So those people who will be the problem owners, we really want to engage them as well and make sure that they're a part of this tech bridge effort, because obviously without, you know, those SMEs within our organization, we will not be as successful as we could be otherwise. Collaboration space is something that's going to be really important to the tech bridge. Not so much right now, since we're all like, I'm from my basement. You can see my joists here. When we do get the opportunity to be around each other more, collaboration space will be really important for us. So we're working on a space called the Cyber Physical Systems Innovation and Collaboration Space. That's actually an IN3 initiative, and we're really excited about that. So NavalX is actually in the process of the Midwest Tech Bridge is actually in the process of helping set that up and potentially providing some equipment for that collaboration space. The next is the champion of the innovation pipeline, and I'd just like to go to the next slide and play a quick little video to get you guys an idea of what this innovation pipeline means. Go ahead, Derek. Thank you.
For entrepreneurs, startups, and small businesses, it can be tough to partner with large organizations. It takes vast personal networks, years of experience, and oftentimes some luck to get your product delivered. That's why we created NavalX Tech Bridges, to help get your ideas and technology directly to those in the Navy and Marine Corps who need it, fast. Our Tech Bridge network is deeply embedded with sailors, Marines, academia, and innovators in the private sector. That means we are uniquely positioned to connect problem owners with solution providers and to drive their products where they need to go. We've mapped our vast network of naval programs across the innovation pipeline, so you always know where you are, where you need to go, and who will help get you there. That way, you can better manage your resources and chart the most effective course to delivering your product. For more information, visit our website and let us know what you need. Your next opportunity is closer than you think.
Thank you, Derek. All right, if you could go on to the next slide, please, that would be great. So this is really kind of where the rubber meets the road for us right now. And as we move forward, I think that this will improve and improve. So as you guys may or may not know, we hosted our first event at the end of March, and it was actually initially intended to be an in-person event. It turned virtual and really set off a stream of events that we're really, really excited about. So we've gotten better at, I won't say good because I don't want to jinx us since we're still on the call, but we've gotten better at hosting these events virtually, and that really goes out to IM3's professionalism getting this done. But we have been hosting these events since March, and you can see here on the timeline at the bottom that's it's at a pretty intense cadence. So we're doing at least one, if not two events monthly, with the goal of having sort of intentional collisions. That's kind of the whole thought here. We're trying to bring people together that need to be talking to one another. We try to be kind of problem solvers during these calls. So to Julie's point earlier, please do write your questions in the comments here on the side if you have any questions of us as we go through this. But to talk a little bit about the type of events that we're doing. So today we're on a small business event, which are the blue ones. So small business events are really, our intent was to have these events hosted in the regions where, you know, in and around Indiana, and then eventually expanding. But we've been having a really great turnout with registrants and participation on these small business events that we're like, you know, we're in the situation we're in, let's make the most of it. Let's try to bring all of the opportunities that are in the ecosystem to these events so we can still train and you know, learn from one another on these events. So the small businesses, you know, generally I do a presentation, generally Jenna Dix, who we'll hear from today. She's our technology transfer director. Matt Burkett, he's our small business deputy. He's been involved in a lot of them. And then we've also gone outside of Crane and are pulling people from the ecosystem that have opportunities and connections to other opportunities within the DoD and the DON. So you're going to hear from some of those folks today, and our goal with these is to really make them all a little bit different, have a little bit of different flavor so that it's always new and interesting for you guys. We don't want to have the same presentation over and over and over again. The red ones are the technology demonstrations, and earlier you guys heard me say that we're trying to connect problem owners with solution providers, and the technology demonstration is really those solution providers showcasing their capabilities to the problem owners. So really, when we've done those, and we've just done the one so far, we had about, you know, 10 organizations. We had about 10 organizations share their capabilities with members of the Crane organization, which was really helpful. We've actually had quite a few impactful collisions there. We have another one coming up here in August, and the end of this month actually, and that one is going to have a focus on hypersonics and UAS. So really excited about that. And we're excited to do more of those as we move forward and kind of focus on those 10 areas we talked about earlier. I'm going to skip over the technology showcase for now because obviously there's not very many of them, and talk about the innovation challenge. So innovation challenges are really the kind of the opposite of what we talked about, the technology demonstration. It's more of the DoD, DON type individuals sharing their information with sharing their problem with the ecosystem in hopes of having solution providers respond back. So we did do an AI Sum Innovation Challenge where we've put together a really, really awesome board of individuals to review those papers. So we're really, really excited about that. We're getting some quality feedback, and we hope to move into future prize challenges in other areas. So electronic warfare, potentially more in the expeditionary. So really looking forward to where those innovation challenges move forward. So as you guys can probably understand, this is really an ever-changing, evolving calendar of events. So we are really kind of going into that 30, 60, 90-day look where we're really looking at 90 days. Okay, like what makes sense at this point? What event makes sense here to do for the trajectory of our program? So another thing that I would ask you guys as the innovation ecosystem is if there's something that you want us to do, something that would be valuable to you, something that you don't understand, please let us know what that is, and that will help us do these events in the future. I actually just got off a call a little bit ago about the SBIR program, and in just complete transparency, I don't have much experience with SBIRs, but we do have people on the Naval X team and other teams that do have that experience. And so that's something where we could bring them to the table and, provide answers to questions that may be, in the back of your mind that we need to work through. So please communicate with us. At the end of this presentation, you'll see the ways to communicate with me and with Julie Schaff, who is our Tech Bridge deputy as well. So please don't be shy with that. I think that's it on this slide. Next slide, please, Derek. So that concludes my presentation. Like I said, I didn't want to go too long in case you folks have heard it before, but for any of you guys that I haven't met with previously, please reach out. I'd love to chat with you guys to see how we can better this tech bridge and move forward together. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Ann. Hey, a couple questions here if you'd be willing to take them. I know we try to typically wait until the end, but these are pretty interesting, and I think we've got a little time here. So the first one is, do we have to have an office in the Midwest to participate, or must we work with the Naval X in or near our offices?
So it is really not, you do not have to have, you don't have to participate with the tech bridge in your region. Sometimes regional makes sense and sometimes more technology driven makes sense. So we're starting to take metrics on some of these events. You guys probably saw that when you registered, we asked questions about where you are at and what technologies you're interested in. So that's something that all the tech bridges are looking at. And so we can vector you to other tech bridges if your technology links up a little bit better than ours does, or we're happy to have you here if you're in, New Mexico and your technology makes sense for our tech bridge. That's totally fine too. So we're happy to have everyone here, everyone from Indiana and outside as well. So thank you all for being here.
Okay, Ann, I got one more for you. The question is, if we have a technology, how do we submit it for consideration for the demonstrations or by an SME?
Right. That's a great question, Doug. Thank you. So the best way to do that, I think, would to be send Julie or myself a note. And what we are usually doing with organizations that we've met is kind of doing a cursory conversation on the phone to discuss what your technologies are, potentially go through your capabilities presentation, and then align that for when it makes sense to include you in our technology demonstration. The other thing that we'll do, I will say, we don't just only do those events. We've had people reach out that say, hey, I want to be connected with this individual, or hey, do you know anyone who has expertise in, textiles? Can you help us there? So with each and every inquiry that we get, we do our best to kind of think through, all right, who does it make sense to hook this person up with? Sometimes there's nothing, at least that comes to my brain, but we do run it through myself, Julie Schaff, our deputy, generally Bill Kaiser at IN3
is now
as our
joining.
One of our technical SPEs, and then also Julie Griffith here, because she is like a Rolodex. So we all usually look at that together, and then if it makes sense for a technology demonstration, then we ask you to be involved in that as well. I hope that helps. If you guys have any follow-on questions, please let me know.
I have a feeling we'll get a few here in a minute, but at any rate, thanks, Ann. Great job as always. And next, we have the pleasure of hearing from Jenna Dix. Jenna's been involved with us in TechBridge from the very beginning, and she's always such a welcome addition to events like this. But Jenna serves as Director of Office of Research and Technology Applications, Tech Transfer at Crane. So Jenna, please.
Thank you, Julie. Thanks so much. Yes, so I am the director of the Technology Transfer Program. So today I'll talk to you a little bit about what technology transfer is and how we might be able to partner using the Tech Transfer Program. Before I get started on my slides, though, I would like to ask Derek if he could play just a short video to give you an idea about tech transfer.
GPS navigation is everywhere these days. Our cars, our phones, and even our watches. But did you know that GPS was originally developed by our nation's top defense laboratories for use in military operations? Thanks to a process called technology transfer, GPS has been made accessible for businesses for the last 20 years. Every day, our federal laboratories conduct exciting research, create new materials and devices, invent technologies that lead to life-saving medicines, and produce the latest and greatest in science and technology. Savvy entrepreneurs and business people, like you, have benefited from federal resources by commercializing these technologies, which helped grow their business and our economy. The federal laboratories are eager to make their ideas and inventions, even their facilities, available to all American businesses, from startups to large corporations. Imagine being able to license and sell the latest technologies from NASA, the Department of Energy, or the National Institutes of Health, or gain access to state-of-the-art federal labs for your own projects. For example, you can access Brookhaven National Laboratory to conduct testing on everything from hydrogen storage materials to metallurgical reactions. You could even partner with government scientists already conducting advanced work in your field as a launching point for your totally new concepts. Some of the most groundbreaking technologies have come out of lab partnerships and lead to more spin-offs than a technology may have originally been developed for. Memory foam, originally developed by NASA to absorb shock impact during space shuttle launches, has been commercialized into products ranging from mattresses to sports equipment and even prosthetics. A program instituted by the Department of Defense to help military commanders manage information overload has now become part of the Apple iOS, we all know as.
Is now joining.
Okay, I set up your meeting for today at 4 p.m.
Start by reaching out to a federal laboratory or agency representative to see what resources they may have available. And this is where we, the Federal Laboratory Consortium for Technology Transfer, the FLC, come in. Visit our website at www.federallabs.org to find out how technology transfer can help your business succeed and ensure our continued competitiveness in the global economy.
Great, thank you, Derek. Can flip back to the slides now. I'll talk a little bit more about the FLC towards the end of my presentation, but we'll go ahead and get started on the first slide there. All right, so as you saw in the video, technology transfer is all about getting private industry access to the resources of the federal lab system. So these resources can be intellectual property, our subject matter experts, our scientists and engineers, like you saw in the video, specialized equipment, state-of-the-art facilities, all of these different things that, that we have inside the laboratories that you may not be able to access otherwise in the private sector. So this is really about everything that we do inside a federal laboratory is funded with taxpayer dollars. So the idea behind technology transfer is really to ensure that we are leveraging the investments that are being made into research and development in the federal laboratories and ensuring that that those resources are made available to private industry and entrepreneurs and startups. So this both helps to encourage economic growth and to promote dual use technologies. Next slide, please. So the different available resources I mentioned briefly, our intellectual property portfolio. So we have a portfolio of about 500 pieces of IP at NSWC Crane that would be available for licensing. The great thing about our IP portfolio is that it is young. So most of our IP is within the last 10 years or so, which is great as far as you know, the state of the technology and the life of the patent. The other really exciting thing about our portfolio is that because Crane is a transition laboratory, meaning our whole goal is to create technologies and get those technologies into the hands of the warfighter, a lot of our patents have been prototyped and fielded. They have data associated with them, drawings, things like that, that make them a lot easier to commercialize than if they were more conceptual in nature. We also have access, we can provide access to the 2,000 scientists and engineers at Crane. So if you are looking for help in a particular technical area, to solve some problem that you're working on, we might have somebody that can help you with that. And that's something that you could reach out to myself or someone on my team, and we could talk to you about what that challenge is that you're facing and if we might be able to have somebody that can assist you. The last two items here are regarding specialized equipment and facilities. So, you know, we have a lot of capability in our lab at Crane in particular that you might not be able to find in the commercial market. So these things can be made available, whether it's some type of test service that you're looking for, access to an anechoic chamber, you know, some battery testing, whatever it might be. These are things that you can come to us and talk to us about what your needs are, and we can see if that's something that we can help with. And then over on the right on the graphic, that's just to give you an idea of some more, you know, practical examples of the types of expertise that we have. You know, a lot of expertise in optics and lasers. We have a big small arms weapons group. A lot of patents in that area as well. RF and antennas, sensors. This is just to kind of give you an idea of where our. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. That was the cat. So embarrassing. Okay, next slide, please, Derek. Okay, so these are the ways that we partner. So if you identify, you know, a resource that we might have at Crane that you're interested in accessing, these are the different agreements that we would put in place to facilitate that. So our most popular and most flexible is this cooperative research and development agreement. The great thing about this agreement is that we can use it for a lot of different reasons. So if you're looking to commercialize a technology and you would like to access the inventors of the technology, you want to see the drawings that are associated with it, maybe access some test reports or get some help with manufacturing ideas or whatnot, we can put this CRADA agreement in place to assist with that. The other big way that we use these types of agreements is just to facilitate cooperative research and development. So if you're working on a product that might be of interest to the DoD, we can use a CRADA to test that product out to see if it meets our needs, or to work together to ruggedize or adapt your product for a warfighting environment to make it more ready for a potential acquisition. So those are definitely great agreements, a lot of flexibility there in how we partner. Next is testing services, and these are really fee-for-service type of arrangements. So if you have a product that needs tested and we have the capability to do that, and all you're looking for is us to do the testing and to provide you with test results, you're not looking for any type of collaboration, you really just want that service, then we can put in place those types of arrangements. And then we also have the patent license agreement. So that kind of speaks for itself. It's just the right to make, use, or sell a technology that is patented by the Navy at NSWC Crane. And last is our education partnership agreement. Some on the, I believe some that were joining the meeting were from the university landscape, but this is primarily an education tool. So it allows our scientists and engineers to help those in academia, whether it be K through 12 or university, just to really help enhance STEM education, provide equipment, guest lectures, assist in curriculum development, those types of things. Next slide, please. Hey, I mentioned this briefly at the beginning of the presentation, but this is kind of why we do technology transfer. You know, the first is economic impact. So this is really all about making sure that the investments that are being made into the lab system are being leveraged by the private sector. It's great. These are great opportunities within our ecosystem to partner with entrepreneurs and small businesses who need a little help, could use some support from the lab, or who are looking for a technology to maybe take to market. And then the second here is enhancing the warfighting capabilities. So this is definitely more of an internal focus here. Technical challenges that face the fighter. So we can do more together. Essentially, is what that bullet's all about. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is kind of exciting. So this is our rapid licensing program. This is something that new that we're doing right now. And basically, this is in response to the pandemic and the economic impact being felt by the COVID-19 situation. We are offering time-limited royalty-free licenses on our patents. So basically, this gives you 12 to 18 months, depending on the specific situation, to license our technology, to test it out, to see if it works within your business model, to see if there's viability there, without having any type of financial obligation to the government. So we started this a few months ago and have executed several licenses under this program. And we would be happy to talk to anybody who is interested in potentially looking for technologies that might be of interest or be of use to your organization. All of our technologies can be found at the link there at the bottom, that techlinkcenter.org. They actually host all of the patent portfolios for the entire Department of Defense and the Department of Veterans Affairs. The great thing about the TechLink website is that it is easily searchable. You can search by laboratory, you can search by technology area. They have a natural language search that works really well. And they also have great resources there on hand that are free to access to help you find technologies that may help solve some problems that you're experiencing. Next slide, please. Okay, so a little bit more about the Federal Lab Consortium, and that's who made the video that I showed at the beginning of the presentation. So this is the network of all federal laboratories. So this includes everybody, the Department of Energy, NASA, Department of Defense, Homeland Security, NIH. There's this network of all of these laboratories that are really accessible via technology transfer. So if you think you might have interest in partnering with a federal lab, but maybe Crane doesn't have the technology area that you're looking for, that you're interested in, the Federal Laboratory Consortium can help connect you with a lab that can meet your need. I'm heavily involved, as are other folks on my team. I know people at labs across the US, so can, in some cases help make a personal introduction to somebody if you are looking for assistance. They also have a great website that's kind of like a portal that talks about the technical capabilities of each of the labs. So if you're looking for help in a particular area, that the FLC can help guide you to a laboratory that might be able to assist. And then I think there's just one slide left, and that's the contact info slide. So I'm sure the slides will be provided to you as a follow-up from today's event. But if you have any questions about technology transfer or are interested in partnering with Crane in this way, any one of the ladies on this list would be happy to assist. And that's all I've got for you.
Thanks, Jenna, and thanks for letting your cat make an appearance. I thought it was great. Hey, it's Monday. We all need a little comic relief. And my dog, a couple weeks ago, we had a strategic advisory group board meeting. And of course, the one time my dog Barks, who never barks in the house, decided to make an appearance. So it happens to everybody. I
hope you can't see how red my face is, because that was embarrassing. But
it was not. Come on, we're all human. We're all living out of our living room, so it all works. Anyway, thank you as always.
Absolutely.
Next, we have another terrific partner to my organization and to Crane. Tony Armstrong serves as president and CEO of IU Ventures. So Tony, if you are with us, your slides are up and you can take it away.
Very good. Thanks, Julie. And I have Jason Whitney with me as well. And Jason's going to do a few of the slides in what he does and helps here. And I think we have Joe Carley on the line too. So we may call on Joe. He's a big part of what we're doing as well. So thanks for having us. We really appreciate it. I've learned a lot just being on. I knew a fair amount about Crane, but the Naval Bridge Grade, I think there's a lot for us to work together on. So as Julie said, my name's Tony Armstrong. I'm the president and CEO of what's called IU Ventures. You may have heard of it in the past as the IU Research and Technology Corporation. We're a separate 501c3, an affiliate that was created by IU. In times past, the main thing we did was really a tech transfer operation for the university. And a few years ago, some of that was moved around, and it really chance at IU Ventures to rethink what we do on behalf of the university and really be a part of, I think, this evolving ecosystem. And so we report to Bill Steffen. Bill is the vice president for engagement and government relations. So we get a chance to be involved in federal policy and different kinds of things. We've worked a fair amount with Crane. Kirk White, who many of you may know, is a part of Bill's team, and we work closely with Kirk. So there's a lot of opportunity here. And I thought what we do today is just give you a little bit of background about IU Ventures, just a few slides, and then think about how we can continue to plug into this. So Derek, if you go to the next slide, please. So really part of what I would call the IU Ventures and sort of our new mission is really how do we support the IU entrepreneurial ecosystem, really all the different schools too, not just Kelly, not just the med school, not just the Bloomington campus or Indy, but really system-wide and really statewide. How do we bring to bear all of this intellectual firepower that is Indiana University? How do we do that? And really 4 ways that we're kind of focused on right now are supporting startups, working with our students, graduate students and undergrads, law students, MBA students, PhD students, all different sorts of ways that we can engage with them. Alumni engagement, we'll talk a lot about that. I think that's been the one where I think have had the most impact, and I think there's the most opportunity for us is really engaging our alums, and then community collaboration. So really, how do we, as a university, in each of our places where we have campuses all across the state, how can we bring that resource to bear in those different communities? So next slide, please. Here's our team. So myself, Terry Willey, and some of you may have worked with Terry in the past. She was at Purdue in their tech transfer office up at the University of Chicago. She was over at Oxford and ran Oxford Ventures, really got that started over there and helped build that up at Mount Sinai and then at Cold Spring Harbor. Tremendous resources network, but she runs our Indiana University Philanthropic Venture Fund that Jason will talk a little more about. Jason Whitney, who many of you may know as well. Jason works with us really on outreach, our angel network, founders and funders network that we've created. I sometimes say there's hardly anybody in the state that Jason doesn't know, or a co-working space or an accelerator in the Midwest, really, that Jason hasn't been a part of helping stand up or get going. Samantha Ginther, who works with us to really support the funds and all the different things we're doing in outreach and students, those kinds of opportunities. And then Mike Burton worked with us to help kind of keep the trains running on time and manage all that. So next slide, please. So I mentioned first startup support, and really there's a number of ways we do this. The first is our Innovate Indiana Fund. Probably about 10 years ago, we had an exit, a technology angel learning, many of you may have heard of, and we were able to take some of that money and work with the foundation and our medical group foundation to create our Innovate Indiana Fund. That really we started with this idea of being able to help our faculty really move some of these ideas in that early stage capital, the friends, families, and fools, as they say sometimes, that is the hardest money to come by. And so we thought if we could just be a little bit of a bridge and help early on and take advantage of not only some funding we could provide, but then other ways, SBIR that was earlier mentioned, STTR, those kinds of programs to just keep the technology moving would be helpful. We pretty much fully invested that fund. Some follow-on investments we're making, but it led to our philanthropic venture fund that Jason will talk a little more about. The Founders and Funders Network really came, and Jason will talk a little bit about some of our alumni engagement and outreach in nodes across the country. And we really found we've got a lot of alums that are in private equity, that are in venture capital, that do seed investment. And so we're really trying to connect them and capitalize on their expertise and their networks, and also a number of alums around the world that are starting companies. and that we're really trying to be a connector then of these different groups, and in some ways, hopefully be able to then bring some of these folks back that are doing these things on the coasts or maybe in Chicago or around the world, that if we can bring them back maybe to Indiana, bring them back to Bloomington, bring them back to Indianapolis, and really share with them the opportunities that they can plug into here, and bring those ideas back. We call it sort of a brain gain, that we could sort of an economic development aspect of what we're trying to do as well. So if we go to the next slide, I think Jason's going to share a little bit about the fund and some of the things he's working on.
Yeah, thanks, Tony, and thanks everybody for having us. I see a lot of old friends on the list of people that have joined the meeting. The Indiana Philanthropic Venture Fund, we launched that in March of 2018, and we make early stage investments into companies that are founded by IU alums, faculty members, or companies that are commercializing IU intellectual property. Through July, I'll add on to these numbers a little bit, we're up over 300 different opportunities that we've reviewed. And we've made 20 investment approvals out of that process. So we say no a lot more than we say yes, which is difficult for us because those people are all constituents of the university. So we want to make sure that we're providing value to them. And our team works really hard to make sure we make connections that are appropriate to help advance the cause, even in opportunities where we are not able to participate financially. You know, just an example is Friday, I was connecting a bunch of people from around the world who were all in the CBD space. And this morning I was connecting a lot of folks who were in the movie industry that all have relocated back to Bloomington. So it's odd set of circumstances. Those companies, one of the metrics that we use to gauge our success is how much money have those companies gone on to raise from the 7.3 million that we've put in. And they've gone on to raise now over $80 million with a large capital raise that took place in July. So we're really excited about the progress that those companies are making. And how they've fared through the pandemic. Next slide, please. You know, a lot of the work that Tony and I have done over the last really 18 months has focused on alumni engagement and identifying people not only throughout the country, but throughout the world that are IU alums who care about the state, but are doing things that are of interest to us. So as we've developed the IU Angel Network, the IU Founders Network, and the IU Funders Network that I kind of combined together to call IU Founders and Funders, we have identified these folks and carefully curated these communities to find ways to plug them back into the state and the campus ecosystems that we help to curate. The IU Angel Network, we started pitching to this network of high net worth individuals in February, live deals, same funnel of deals that our IU Philanthropic Venture Fund sees. To date, we've funded 4 deals, right around $400,000, and we have a full pipeline of opportunities for them to invest in for the rest of the year. So really excited about the continued development of that network. Currently have a little over 30 angels, and ideally we're going to have around 45 at the end of the year. You know, there's a line of sight where you could get to 200 folks by the time this thing is over with, but it's really a nice opportunity for us to connect both Hoosier founders and funders onto common deals. And what we've heard as we've been on the road is people say, you know, I grew up in the Midwest, I grew up in Indiana, I went to IU, I've been gone for 20 years, but I care about that place and I can immediately connect with these founders and entrepreneurs that we grew up with the same set of morals and values, and we can break down barriers and advance the cause. Next slide, please. Some of the cities that we've built these nodes in initially: San Francisco, Los Angeles, a lot of work in Boulder, Denver, and Boston, and then emerging markets in Dallas and Miami and Chicago, have been multi-time engagement process of going back, curating a community, asking them to bring additional folks to the table who are either working in venture capital or private equity or run venture-backed businesses. So we're not trying to cast this really wide net and capture everybody that's ever driven through Bloomington, Indiana. But we're finding those folks that are really looking for that meaningful engagement around this one single thing. Next slide, please. And one thing we hear commonly from these folks when we're on the road is, how do I help engage students? How do I enhance the educational experience for those students? And so as we're meeting these people, we're continually trying to figure out ways to plug them back into the Bloomington campus or the Uplands region. One thing that's getting ready to get announced soon is the Shoemaker Fund, which is an opportunity for donors to invest in a fund that will fund student startup companies. Really excited about our organization being able to be the fiscal agent for that. And I think over time we're going to have additional opportunities to have more enhanced internships, as well as opportunities for students to do market research and diligence. I was telling Tony last week, Baylor has an amazing program that is for credit that they manage through their angel network that I think we could probably work towards, that really meet some of the educational mission requirements of our organization. We've plugged numerous startups into class projects, and we're really excited about the development of the iGym as we move to the other side of this pandemic and are able to focus more efforts on that. Next slide. I think I'm giving it back to Tony. Or is this me? I'll do this one. So Tony and I have done this a million times, so we just kind of back and forth. So we utilize this network of spaces throughout the state. IU has an immense network of regional campuses, and so we have a network of offices that are throughout the state that we're able to plug in to figure out ways that we can better assist in those regional economic development efforts. And there's some listed there. There's probably 6 more on top of that we try and get to as much as we can pre-pandemic, but we're definitely eager to get back on the road and engage in those spaces. And one that's coming up that everyone knows about is 16 Tech. We obviously love the Dimension Milks. That's where our office is, and I think the Indiana IoT Lab probably has a lot of synergies with this group as well to help develop new products. I think now it's Tony.
Yeah, thanks. If we could go. On this slide, I think it is, and this actually goes back, I think, one of the slides that Jen had about why we do this. And I think we get excited about deal making and transactions and moving technologies and those kinds of things. But really, at the end of the day, for us, a lot of what we do is from our medical school, and it really does have a tremendous social impact. We're alleviating suffering, we're curing diseases, we're saving lives. I mean, just in this COVID, we've got 2 of our companies, 2 of our portfolio companies that are deeply involved in the state's efforts around providing care and keeping track of what's going on with COVID. And so just Jason mentioned, I think if you see on this ad that we have, MBX was recently, just a month or 2 ago, closed on $35 million with 3 of the largest venture funds in life sciences in the country. Scioto is the one that Jason mentioned as well. That's a gut biome. They just raised $26.5 million. Apexion down in the bottom, it's macular degeneration. They're actually publicly traded now as a part of a company that's out there. So a vast range of different types of technologies, but really at the end of the day, we're just trying to help our faculty get the work that they're doing out into the world. And I would say that for almost all, these faculty members really want to see what they're doing have an impact around the world. And all we're trying to do is work closely with our tech transfer office on making sure that we're protecting that IP, that we're getting it ready to be able to license. And then what Jason and I and our team at IU Ventures is trying to do is, especially in the life sciences space, there's a long way between the bench to the bedside. And if we can just get some runway and keep that work going and make it attractive to other investors or even licensees that are anxious to take that on and finish the work, that's what we're really trying to do. Next slide, please. I mentioned it's a little bit different, and so in some ways for IU Ventures, we really are trying to build these long-term relationships and really not as transactional of trying to get a deal done, but how do we build this network of our alums and friends of the university really all over the world. Jason mentioned this a pitch competition he's working on. It's going to be in Southeast Asia. So Jason has found a number of our alums in that part of the world that are anxious to be a part of the ecosystem. And so we're going to bring together some folks that have companies over there. Jason's already connected one of the young ladies who has a company to somebody in the mill who has background in that space. And so we're trying to build this network of folks that really want to give back. And as Jason mentioned, we visit with folks all over the country. They love Bloomington. They love Indiana. They really want to be a part of and give back. And really for us, the university, we haven't asked them to be a part of this in this way ever before. Many times it's more of a student scholarship, a building, some kind of a funding opportunity along those lines. But here we're asking them to open up their Rolodex or to test the technology or just to give us their feedback about something that we're working on. And so it really is a different way for the university to impact. And I think it's definitely going to have a huge impact around what's happening at Crane, what's happening in this corridor, around defense and some of the things that are going to happen when I-69 gets done. I say that and people chuckle. I do think someday it's going to get done, but I think it's going to open up this ability for Crane and Bloomington and Indianapolis all the way up to West Lafayette and South Bend. It's really going to transform this idea of getting around and our ability to work together, and some of the facilities that we will now have, the space that we'll have in Bloomington is going to make a huge difference. Next slide, please. I used this slide, I put it up again. We shared this actually with our trustees, the IU trustees, back in February. And you can see 3 of these are really things that Joe Carley's helping us with, but that have a direct impact, I think, on what this group is about. The space out at the old cyclotron, as I call it, the mesh facility, unbelievable opportunities out there. I mean, every time I talk to Joe or hear about what's happening there and think about once the highway gets done, what we're going to be able to do there. The iGym is another one that I think is going to have huge potential for us. Our provost is very committed to that. I think we just are a little bit delayed with the pandemic and getting kids back on campus, but I'm sure we're going to revisit that. And then just all the opportunities I've told Jason and Joe a couple of times. You can see a little bit by this beard, I've got a little bit of gray now. And so I've been working with Crane for a number of years. And there has never been in my time in state government or here at the university a better relationship with Crane, a more productive relationship with Crane, and more opportunity with Crane. Mike Dodd, I know I saw Mike's on the call as well. Mike has been a huge help, Joe and Kirk, and all the work, and the folks at Crane. Kyle's been tremendous. Just the trust and receptivity and having folks from Crane working on their PhDs here on campus, and us being able to do things down there. And I just think the new space we're going to have, the ability to deepen those relationships and work more closely together is really going to be an unprecedented time for us. And so we're just anxious to be a part of it and help in any way we can. I think the next slide's just if we have questions, and we'll be on the call, but answer any of those. But we appreciate being included in this. Let myself or Joe Carley or Jason, if you have questions. Kirk White is a part of our team as well. So whatever we can do to help, please just let us know.
Thanks so much, Tony. I'm like you. I think I-69 will be done at some point too. I thought I knew a lot about IU Ventures until today, but I learned a lot. So, and I'm sure
evolving. It keeps changing every day. I sometimes say at the beginning that what I do is go around and promise people things, and then Jason has to figure out how to do it. So that's why he joined me today, is so I couldn't say that we were going to do something.
It's the only reason I joined these meetings.
So it's changing. So we appreciate being able to update everybody, and this is going to be, it's great. The partnership is terrific, and we're anxious to work together.
Great. Well, thank you. And there's nothing like the way you make promises, because at some point you got to live up to them. So
Jason does. He does a good job.
Sometimes too, and it's like putting pressure on your friends and coworkers.
I haven't ever kicked my coverage yet, but I'm testing.
Well, you're doing a darn good job of it. So thank you guys so much for joining us. I know you've got a lot going on, and you mentioned Mike Dodd, who's our next presenter. Mike and I have worked together over the last couple of years. Mike's relatively new to his role. I think Mike joined NSIN maybe in the fall, but I can tell you he's already made a tremendous impact in a short period of time. Mike currently serves as program director for the National Security Innovation Network. So Mike, if you're on, please take it away.
Thanks, Julie. So welcome everybody. Mike Dodd with the National Security Innovation Network, or NSIN. Formerly MD5, if you follow our rebranding last fall. Derek, next slide, please. So just kind of the fast facts, org chart wise, we are a DoD office. Our makeup is about 75 folks on our team right now, civilians, government, military, and contractor personnel. We report through the Defense Innovation Unit up into the Undersecretary for Defense Research and Engineering. So positioned really, really well in the org chart of things, DoD wide, and having access to DoD problem sets that we kind of take through our programming to our customers. In our partnership, we are actually now at 42 universities across the country. with 5 commercial incubators and accelerators. Next slide, please, Derek. We are also across the DoD, so major commands, combatant commands, joint staffs, OSD, and Crane is literally one of 30 of my customers across the DoD portfolio. We are also topic area agnostic. So I heard Ann talk about some of the topic areas that NavalX and the Tech Bridge support. So we take all of those and more. So really we are aligning our programming to our DoD problem sponsor. Next slide, please, Derek. So kind of the mission and theory of the case. Why did we create Ensign, right? Is building networks of innovators and leveraging others. So not only are we building our networks, we and I and my other program director colleagues across the country love to lever other networks as well. So that's why partners like IN3 and NavalX here on the call today and Jenna and T2 from Crane are huge for us in delivering our programming. I don't think anybody would debate that DoD's current model for problem solving is expensive, slow, and inefficient. And really, part of the genesis of Ensign and our big sister DIU is for us to operate at the speed of business and to bring best-in-class solution sets to our government problem sponsors and giving them a speed of business opportunity in which to do it. Our programs are pointed at and designed to engage non-traditionals or set-aside companies and academics in the ecosystem and creating those pathways to service and engagement. Next slide, please, Derek. So you can see our kind of current footprint. And again, this is a couple of weeks outdated with new universities coming online and additional program directors and regional directors that we are currently onboarding. Excited here in at least the Great Lakes region. I'm adding a regional director to the team here. That individual will be co-located with ARL Central up in Chicago. So they'll kind of co-sit in their space. And then, as Tony mentioned, and appreciate that, Tony, IU is my sponsor here in the state. So while Crane is one of my customers, IU is my sponsor, so I'm kind of stationed at IU and bounce around from, Bryan Hall to Dimension Mill to Mesh, really, with an eye on ensuring I try and meet and connect with as many non-traditionals, students, faculty, that are looking to gain access to DoD problem sets. Next slide. So kind of contextualizing our innovation model in our own ecosystem. You kind of see, and you all are probably familiar with, DARPA or IARPA opportunities, very big game-changing basic research, but slow big bets. You kind of go around the horn, you end up in the lower quadrant where Ensign, as I mentioned, not truly trying to engage and do things at the speed of business, but rapid solution development and fast little bets. So we're deploying sometimes our programming and awards in the thousands of dollars up into the low millions. And I'll talk more about that here in a couple slides. And then you see DIU over in that lower right-hand quadrant. They're focusing on kind of the requirements driven. So their customers bring them a requirement, and DIU will go to the marketplace for actually a solution and a commercial services offering. Next slide. So kind of, how Ensign partners across our ecosystem. So with universities, so IU has, and all of my program directors sprinkled around the country, we bring an entire suite of programming that the universities have access to. And we do that kind of on an a la carte basis, and I'm going to talk to some of the programmings here in a slide or two. But it's really just aligning the level of interest on the university side and our problem sponsor side and their participation in those different programs. Currently at IU, in under 8 months, we have a dozen programs either underway or starting here soon. So we've had tremendous engagement and success, both at IU and with Crane and our other DoD problem sponsors, and a testament to the team at IU. So Kirk and Joe, and Jason, Laura, Jeff Zaleski. So I had to rattle off my team. But IU is fantastic in providing me with a kind of a government liaison team, and that's kind of critical. So if you're looking to work with Ensign, whether it be at IU or at another university, I would definitely connect with the university program director, the regional director, and that university engagement team, because those will be kind of the teammates you're going to need to engage to make a successful the kind of collaboration with the universities. So all the universities have access to our full suite of programming, and then partnering with the venture community, also critical for us, and something we're actually evolving. So ensuring that we show that our programming leads to a credentialed, compliant, and we have a contract transition partner available to everything that we do. So as we introduce either back in napkin or early stage entities or even research to our venture partners, they get as far an upstream look that they want in order to see and assess where they think and what the triggers or milestones may be for them to actually come in and invest in an organization. But we're giving them a really upstream look at our activities and the entities that we work with. And the other thing that's super helpful to the venture community that we work with is giving them an eye on the programs and contracts and defining the market basket inside DoD and VA. So they have a really true snapshot of what that market basket is for that entity, product, or service that we're kind of bringing into DoD. Next slide. So, kind of our activities to accomplish our work. We have 3 lanes in our portfolio: our national service, our accelerator, and our collaboration. And all this stuff is on our website, and I've got a deeper deck if anybody's interested as well. But you'll see, in our national security service, it's really about creating pathways to service. So we've got several programs that lead to allow, whether you're academic or a early stage entity, how can you serve in the national security space without actually having to go and sign up and put on a uniform in DoD.
Is now exiting.
And those are all funded. All of our programs, by the way, are funded by Ensign. So none of our customers, we're not using customer funds to execute any of our programs. Kind of that national security problem solving, collaborating space. We have what's called the DIN, or Defense Innovation Network. And think of that as really a kind of an invite-only Slack channel for DoD and entities or academics who can impact kind of that problem statement. So what that does, it gives entities and academics a no kidding direct engagement to a program manager, so they can influence what requirements may look like once they come out, right? So you'll have a program manager with a problem statement who will put this out into this DIN. We'll have invite-only attendees into that community, so they can iterate, they can submit abstracts, quad charts, and really get a sense of what kind of impact they may be able to have. And the program manager gets a chance to see kind of what's out there, the art of the possible in engagement, iterating with academics and non-traditionals. So when they finally do release a requirement, it certainly has been influenced by a lot of that kind of discussion. And then, kind of on the T2 side, and big shout out to Jenna and Annie at Crane. They are tremendous partners. I would highly encourage everybody to engage with them and check the portfolio. One of our programs, the Defense Innovation Accelerator, which is taking lab IP, and we bring it into one of our programs, a 12-week program, and we staff it with entrepreneurs, business advisors, finance advisors, to form a entity that will be compliant, credentialed, and we will give it and have access to a contract and a customer out the other end. The T2 office at Crane produced more IP than any other lab that's currently in this cohort, so they own a full third of this cohort. So some pretty exciting stuff. available at Crane to license and or engage and collaborate with. Next slide. So a couple of the programs, just to touch on quickly, I mentioned our national service. So we'll have a government sponsor, and say we had 3 government sponsors in our national service for this past summer, where we provided our X-Force fellows, so summer interns, so students, and these can be undergrad, grad students. We provided 13 paid fellows to Crane problem sponsors this past summer. And to see their impacts and engagement through the different program offices has been fantastic. And if anyone's interested, I can send you the link to the program offices and their project impacts. But to see them kind of iterate over a 12-week period and have the impacts that they had in those program offices is fantastic. So that's kind of the early stage national service, right? We give them a paid summer internship. Out the other end of that, Ensign offers full year, essentially, fellowships where we will then hire that person, put them out at a government customer site, and let them determine best fit. So they get a chance to truly, from the fellows' perspective, see the problem, work on it, make sure they like the program office, and vice versa. The program office gets a chance to really test drive the candidate and make sure they're making a really strong hire. This Defense Civilian Auxiliary Corps, this is ongoing right now. This is really designed to be our lowest barrier to entry in doing something with DoD. So we take, in this case, 7 problem sponsors from Crane. We take 13 academics from 3 different universities and just simply get them engaged and collaborating. And again, so they get a chance. And the do-outs that we're looking to get from all those is a CRADA with each one of those institutions or academics, and you also have some of the participants essentially influencing or helping what the SBE topic area development, right? So they've got a chance to be involved so far, kind of upstream, with the program office as they start to go and solicit topics. They're already engaging with academics in their space to help them do that. I've already mentioned the Defense Innovation Network, our Hacks and Hacking for Defense programs. They're some of the most well-known programs that Ensign delivers, and at over 40 universities are H4D, and that's actually starting this fall here at IUPUI downtown Indy. The NSA2, the National Security Academic Accelerator. So I talked about kind of make many and little bets. So as of about 3 weeks ago, Ensign awarded IU. They were one of 4 university awardees, and it'll be $1.5 million over 3 years. And we're going to take topic areas from 3 different government sponsors, and IU will form the teams around submitting to those, ultimately with a goal of taking university IP and or research, forming an entity, getting it credential compliant, and having a contract vehicle out the other end to immediately transition from forming the entity to contracting with a government off-taker, if you will. And our STARTS program, a couple of folks on the call mentioned kind of the SBE program. Those, the STARTS and Propel, those are kind of SBE-esque force multipliers, I call them. So we'll help those SBE government offices actually perform their function and execute their program. So you'll see a lot of times, SBE office, somebody's doing that collaterally, or it's a 1 or 2 person shop, and it's tough to do with potentially hundreds of submissions, and or they're trying to develop topic areas as well. So our program team will go in and assist that SBE office to stand up, develop their topic areas, release, and actually execute their program. So those are some of the programs kind of in motion right now and already underway. And Derek, I think we'll go to the last slide. And I'm just trying to stay sensitive to time here. There's our cool kind of flow chart. You can just kind of see how programs move through the Department of Defense and where they land and who gets what. Next slide. My contact info is on there, even though it's kind of shaded funny. but I'm sure Derek or some of the other folks can circulate that. If you want to get in touch, by all means, don't hesitate to reach out.
Hey, Mike, that was great. Thank you so much. Everybody knows how to find you. And congrats on a lot of the work you're doing, not only through Ensign, but some of the other things you're doing to promote exactly what we're all trying to do, which is create this incredible ecosystem in Indiana. So many, many thanks for joining us this afternoon. Next, we're going to hear from Ryan McDonald. He's from Rose-Hulman Ventures, which might sound remarkably like IU Ventures. They are very, very different, and we're excited to have Ryan here. The one thing that Rose-Hulman and IU have in common is they're both incredibly good, well-renowned and recognized institutions. So Ryan, please take it away.
That's a lot to live up to, Julie. Ryan McDonald, Director of Business Development here at Rose-Hulman Ventures. We have been innovating for 20 years, as the first slide says. We got started back in early 2000. The first 5 years of our life was funded by a Lilly Endowment grant, and it was to foster technology and tech startups in the state of Indiana. When we sunsetted that program, we had a lot of stubborn engineers on board who didn't want to stop. So we figured out that we were really great at taking our students and creating meaningful projects for companies. So for the last 15 years, that's what we've been. We are a fee-for-service company. We have very unlofty goals for revenue. We just break even. It's kind of a nice thing to have to do. And we provide affordable services in the spaces of software, mechanical, and electrical engineering. Derek, next slide, please. So how the program works, it's really kind of simple. Think about a job shop. We start with clients. The three things that our clients need to have is high engagement, high priority project, and funding. The name is misleading in that we don't operate as a venture facility. We do fee for service. The next part of that is the project managers. Currently, we have 7 project managers. All of them are Rose-Hulman grads. And approximately 160 years combined experience. We have 2 of the engineering managers that were actually student interns 20 years ago. They were some of the first people that came on board, and they've been here ever since with us. The interns, that's the secret. You know, we take our students and we take the theory that they're learning in class and we apply it at Ventures. It is a competitive process to work at Ventures. Just because you are a Rose-Hulman student doesn't mean that you can work for us. We recruit right alongside our clients at our 3 career fairs every year. And yeah, it's a competitive process. And we do have the luxury of having a deep faculty connection. We have some of the most talented people in the country in STEM, and we can tap into them. from time to time. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Derek, next slide, please. So our infrastructure, we actually are located 7 miles south of main campus, just south of I-70 and the 641 bypass. We have 14 full-time staff. We've got a 35,000 square foot facility, 80 acres, full machine shop, full electrical shop. All of our software and equipment are professional grade. They are not educationally licensed. We expect our students to be working in the same space as our clients. So that means they have to have the same tools. Next slide, please. So where we operate in the commercialization space is, and I'm sure everyone's heard, Death Valley. We don't do basic research. We take technologies that startup companies are employing and we further them. So basically, we do a lot of proof of concept, a lot of MVP, and then we pass that off to third-party contract manufacturers. We are different in that we do not want to maintain any IP. All the IP that we develop for our clients stays with the client. Rose-Hulman is a small institute, and we quite frankly don't have the staffing to license anything. So we want our clients to go forth and prosper. So that's what we really strive for. Next slide, please. Like I said earlier, we are basically a job shop. We do proposal-based projects. We have some fairly low hourly rates. Our student interns are $40 an hour. We have an ME and a double E tech. They get charged at $70 an hour. The project managers and the engineering staff, $105 an hour, and PhD faculty, $150, typically $50 to $70 blended. We don't charge anything for out-of-pocket. It is just a pass-through cost. And as mentioned in the previous slide, the IP belongs to the client. There is also the benefit of recruitment.
Is now exiting.
So recruitment is a big part of what draws our clients to ventures. It's another avenue for them to be able to try out the product that we produce. Very gifted, hardworking students. So it allows our clients to be able to kind of give them a test run, see what they're worth. And then access to RHV facilities and equipment. We are very open to pre-pandemic having our clients come in and work alongside our students and our project managers. Next slide, please. So how we all benefit, the client, again, going back to IP, commercial development, talent pipeline, low-cost solution. Students, they get a wide range of industry experience. They're applying the theory. They get to network with our clients, and it's a job for them. They get a paycheck. If a student is very well motivated, they can approximately make $10,000 a year, which offsets cost of tuition by about a quarter. And then as far as the Institute, we get to stay engaged with our alumni, with with industry partners. We get to stay on the cutting edge of technology, and we just stay current in market trends. Next slide, please. Some of the clients, I'll just let everyone kind of take a quick look at that. It's a wide variety of clients. It's not industry specific. We work in pharmaceuticals all the way to neurosurgery and insulation. And even you'll see there a law firm that is a client for software engineering, some specific things. Next slide, pardon me. So the next few slides are just going to be kind of some examples of projects we've done. So Simple Onboard was actually developed by as a need for a local IHOP franchisee here in Terre Haute. And basically what it was to be EEOC compliant and speed up the process. As with many restaurants, turnover is abundant. So this product actually helped make the hiring process a lot easier. Next slide, please. Arithmetech. This is an interesting partnership that actually came out of the IURTC, which is now IU Ventures. So basically, the doctors were wanting to be able to recognize sympathetic nerve system, or the sympathetic nerve system, but there's a lot of noise around the heart to produce or to predict cardiac events. So what Venture's task was, we basically built a filter, and that filter was able to cancel out the noise from the heart and able to predict cardiac events. We've actually since used that similar technology in another project for TMJ. So we've created a small Band-Aid-like printed circuit board that pulls up the nerve system in people who are grinding their teeth, and actually produces a signal that then tells the person to stop. Next slide, please. This was a quintessential Rose-Hulman Ventures project. This is 4 years ago. We were approached by an alum who owns 3DP, and they wanted us to mobilize a workforce to create a large Delta style printer. This printer did not exist. It was completely built from scratch at Rose-Hulman Ventures, and they came to us in July, and the Manufacturing Technology Show in Chicago was in September. So we basically just put together 2 months worth of work and pretty much did the impossible. We actually ended up delivering this to McCormick Place the day of the show. Very, very fun stuff. Next slide, please. And then another IURTC platform. This was a project to make collapsible water bottles that did not need to be filled with saline. because saline and common tap water do basically the exact same thing.
Sarah is now exiting.
The project was developed by Dr. Sloan, and we want to create a sealed collapsible water bottle. Next slide, please. And that's it. So, like I said, my name is Ryan McDonald. I'm Director of Business Development. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Contact information is right there. Look forward to hearing from everyone. Thanks, Derek.
Ryan, thank you. I've had the pleasure of working with Ryan for a while and visiting Rose Home Adventures, and it's just incredible what those students do. So Ryan, thanks for educating everybody about the incredible work that's done at Rose Home Adventures.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, thank you. Believe me, the punishment for doing a great job is being asked back. So thank you very much. We've got one more person to hear from, who is always terrific, and she's always part and parcel of our events. But we've got a little bit of time here. Chris is going to encourage you, please, if you have any for participants, to write them in the chat box and we'll get to them. But in between now and then, let me introduce Christine Jeffers. She's State Director of the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers, which are all across the state of Indiana, but we affectionately call it PTEC. So Chris, if you're with us, please.
Thank you, Julie. As always, I learn something every time I'm on these webinars. Anyone who says that Indiana doesn't have much going on has no idea what's going on, because it's always amazing to see all of the collaboration and all of the projects that people are participating in the state. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The next slide, first slide, please. Just again, I know I have it every time, but it's just a reminder of where our regions are located. I've heard the mill mentioned many times, and our office in Bloomington, our South Central, is located in the mill as well. It's a great location. It's a great way to meet all kinds of different companies. We fully support it as well. But those are all of our regions. Next slide. I'm going to use this slide every single time because of the importance of CMMC, and just reminding people that CMMC is coming, and you need to prepare your company to be ready to get certified when the requirements are put in place, probably early next year. If you haven't done so, we're doing the 20 topics in 20 weeks. We've done 4. They've been widely received. We've got other states and other MEPs from other states now watching, because we are the only state that's doing this so far. So it's really a great program. So again, don't forget or don't get caught and get behind when the auditors start coming reviewing companies. Next slide. So I always try something different and add something new and share information. $1 billion. And that's government agency wide. So that's every agency. However, that is an incredible investment in small businesses. In women-owned businesses was $26 billion. And I always like to say all of those are B's, not M's. So that's billions of dollars. How did Indiana do overall? Best year we've ever had. We were at 876 million small business for government agency wide, which is the largest we've ever had. However, you know, I look at that total amount at 132.9 billion and think we have a lot of room to grow here. We need to really keep pushing. We did better than 2018. However, in women-owned businesses, we dropped a lot. In fiscal year 2018 in Indiana, the women-owned business overall was like at 4.9%, which is fantastic. And in 2019, we dropped to 1.9%. In Indiana. So that's something that we really need to work on and focus on in the future. But I think you can see there's a lot of opportunity for the state of Indiana and for businesses in the state of Indiana to participate in this space. How did Department of Defense do? Next slide. They got an A as well. So Still waiting on the breakdown for that $75.4 billion of where Indiana was. Obviously, you know, if our total was only at 876 million, we were still way under where we need to be. So overall, Department of Defense, they got a grade A as well. You know, never hit that hub zone requirement. I don't think anyone ever will. They're going to keep trying, though. That's such a hard one to hit. In the state of Indiana, we have increased our number of hub zone companies. However, it's I think we're up to in the mid 50s, which isn't much. Obviously, the location's one thing, but it's those employees and where they live, that 35%, that's the catch. But you can see that the Department of Defense overall, they did not hit their women-owned small business goal again. They got closer. They were at 4.25%. They obviously don't like to not hit goals. So again, I see more chances for small business set-asides as women-owned businesses. So we need to work on getting more of our women-owned businesses in the state of Indiana registered and participating in that space so they can take advantage of those small business set-asides for women-owned businesses. Next slide. I also wanted to talk just a little bit about some things that have come out in the last week or two from DoD in contracting news, if you will. Last week, they issued Section 889A, which is basically just the prohibition of teleconferencing of covered surveillance services. There's basically 4 companies from China that are on the list now that you may not have at your facility or use at your company. So the implementation process of that came out last week. There's the website if you want to go look at it. You need to make sure that your company doesn't have any of that equipment or is not using any of that equipment. It will be applied to existing contracts, so not just future contracts. So please take the time to check that out and make sure. You know, people talk about you could have a surveillance camera at an old building that you don't even know. You just need to check to make sure you don't. So wanted to talk about that. The DoD also sent out some guidance last week about COVID-19 related impacts and costs of Department of Defense. This is supplies, costs going up, demand of supply. They issued some guidance to contracting officers throughout the Department of Defense. And there are some rights, if you will, that vendors have. And it's important if you have an existing contract with the Department of Defense and it was impacted at all by COVID-19, please take the time to look at that and see if there's anything you should be doing to protect yourself and protect your contract. Women-owned businesses. So I think I've mentioned before that in the past for federal contracting, women-owned businesses was basically a self-certification process, and that has changed, and it's in the process of changing now. So until October 15th, women-owned businesses that are maybe have a third-party certification, they need to go to sbacertified.gov and start uploading their information. I've provided the website there to give you a little bit more information on the program. But after October, you actually have to be certified in the sbacertified.gov mechanism there to be a woman-owned business. So you will not just automatically get everything transferred and be a woman-owned business. So it's really important that if you are a woman-owned business or if you know a woman-owned business, they need to make sure that they take the time to do that. Even if they had just gotten certified by mid-states, that does not mean you don't have to do this. This still has to happen. So that's very important. FPDS, for all of you old school people out there, if you've been using it, it's migrated to SB Beta SAM, but on October 17th, they're turning it off. So it's going to be weird for me even not to keep going to that and using it for reports and updating. So please be mindful that October 17th is the last date and that it'll be fully migrated into Beta SAM. And as far as we know, the Beta SAM process or the SAM.gov registration process will be changing later this fall in October sometime. So the DUNS numbers will be going away and the process will be different through Beta SAM. We're kind of waiting to see some guidance on that. We keep hearing October, but again, I haven't seen anything come out directly from them of a date. So if you haven't registered yet, if you already registered in SAM, you don't have to do anything. It's automatic. It's just for new registrations. So we're trying to be mindful of that. If you haven't registered, maybe you should register now before the switch. As we know, there's always glitches when things switch. So we're kind of recommending, if you've never been registered in SAM, you've been thinking about it, maybe now's the time. Do it now before the end of October when everything switches and there's a backlog. Next slide. And that's it. I am a part of the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. That's the information of how to get a hold of IEDC. They have a lot of information on PPE still and a marketplace, as well as manufacturing grants. I think next month or the next couple months, we'll have some more inclusion from IEDC on some different issues that Julie and I are working on. And next slide is just my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me, ask questions, especially if you're in any of those areas where you need registrations or certification updates. And Julie, that's all I have.
Thanks, Chris. As always, our tagline in Indiana, as all of you know, is a state that works. Every time I see Chris, I tell her she has a PTAC that works. So Chris, thank you so very much, always, for your participation, willingness to be part of this program. It's really key, I think, to those participants who are kind enough to join us and spend their time. I don't see any questions in our chat, but before I close this out, and thank you guys again for participating, is there anybody online that wants to ask a question, raise their hand, offer suggestions? We are here to answer them and to listen. Okay, well, if not, again, thanks for joining us on a very busy Monday. I know your time is very limited, but we're grateful. Please watch for upcoming events. We've got some others that are soon going to be coming up. You saw the calendar. And I think those two will be worth your time. So thanks for joining us again. Have a great rest of the day and watch for upcoming events. Thanks, everybody. Have a good Monday.